Hello and welcome to How to Win the Lottery 1990s, 1999 Y2K. You afraid?
What?
You afraid of Y2K?
No, I was not afraid of Y2K when it happened. Were you? You were a baby.
I remember
you were 3 years old.
I was 3 years old. No, I had just turned 12. And I was like, part of me was just like, there might be somebody who like does something crazy. I'm like, if the world's so big, we're gonna be
much
fine.
older than you. I feel like sometimes, like in the other day in the thread, you said some shit like I was 100 years older than you. But when you say you're 12, I realize I was only 16.
Yeah, you were born 4 years before me.
Yeah.
4.5 years. It's not that long.
Yeah. We wouldn't have gone to high school together.
We played up for comedy. It's not funny, by the way, but we played up for comedy.
That's right. Like how I always act as though Real is at least 50 years old.
Yeah.
Because he is. He's the oldest man that I know.
Mm-hmm. But, also you're dressed in the attire of a 60-year-old man.
Yeah. Don't bring that on.
It looks really comfortable, though. I'm not saying it as a negative.
This is like a grandma thing. These are called grandma squares.
It's great.
I get more compliments for this than anything else, except for that coat.
Yeah. Oh, the rainbow coat.
Yeah, the one that looks like lifesavers. Nobody has any idea what we're talking about because this is all visual shit. Anyway, let's address at the top my 1999 fuck up.
Oh yeah,
which is that
because you aired in 1999.
Because this is because this is a graphic novel.
Oh,
and it was compiled over more than a decade.
Yeah, it started in the 80s.
Yeah, this is actually like invalid. But there is a way in which it is very, very much valid, because From Hell, the novel, is sort of about the end of the 19th century.
Sure.
Right. And so like,
well, I will tell you, I did 1999 facts. I also did 1899 facts.
Yeah.
Because it's not exactly, it's like 1880s or whatever, but it is a defensible defense.
I mean, Gull talks about it, about like ushering in the new century through his horrific acts.
Have you ever heard Gull as like, I mean, it makes sense, like literally the gullible person, but like, have you ever heard Gull as a noun for a person who is easily duped?
No. Is that something that exists?
Oh yeah, they define, like I think in the book somewhere, maybe it's an interstitial. I think it might be one of like the text pages between chapters.
Yeah.
There was like the definitions of gull, and like there's like the bird, but it's also like a gullible person or whatever.
Yeah, I'd never heard that before.
I have another question for you before we get to the 1999 facts. Did you, as promised in the last episode, start watching I Love Dick?
No, I didn't.
I edited that today and I was just like, I bet he didn't start this.
Yeah, I didn't. I have not been in TV mode really at all.
You've been reading a lot more, because the last time we recorded, you said you had not been reading.
Yeah, I have.
And now you're back on the book grind.
Yeah.
Which is good.
Yeah. Right.
We've been in movie mode over here.
I've just been in, like, I got a lot of shit going on. You know, I got a lot of cleaning that I have to do in my house and like get all my stuff together.
Yep.
And so like I haven't been watching TV, although I did start watching that new Ralph Bob Waxberg cartoon.
Yes.
Which is
produced by
pretty good
past author of the show, Lisa Hannah Walt.
Yeah.
So here's some 1999 facts. Do you know the number one movie of the year?
Was it From Hell?
No, that was 2001, I believe. Although in Appendix 2 in this book, there is a poster of From Hell coming soon, starring Johnny Depp. I was just like, that's a little meta.
Yeah, that movie sucks.
All of Appendix 2 is just like, look at all these fucking losers who talked about Jack the Ripper. It's like, also, you did the same thing, Alan Moore.
And no, but he does a really good job. I think the Appendix 2 is like essential to reading, because he gets to that part where he's like, this is all story. And the story is what matters. And you can think of Jack the Ripper as like an electron, right? Like he's in all places at once.
Yep.
And so he's occupying all of these separate identities. The thing that's weird about the book, and we'll get into this as we talk about it, is that the guy that is Jack the Ripper, like they're 99% sure that it's Jack the Ripper. There might actually even be DNA evidence, is a guy named Aaron Kosminski. He's not mentioned in the book at all, except for.
Is he in Appendix 2?
No, he's not. But except for to like sort of address the accusations of him as anti-Semitic, because there are all of these things where it's like a Jew did it, a Jew did it, a Jew did it, and like that's Alan Moore commenting on the overwhelming anti-Semitism of England, but the person that they're talking about is also the guy that actually was most likely to be Jack the Ripper.
I do like, and I will get back to the 1999 facts. I do like Appendix 2 because he's basically saying what's the same in everybody's interpretation, everyone's guesses, or the way that they look at Jack the Ripper. You're still constrained by where the murders happened, and like it's this one space, right? But what I do appreciate about the book, and what I like about, even though I'm gonna get to like things that drives me crazy about the book, like things he does that other people do that I think are infuriating, but
I think I know what you're talking about, and I also think that there is a lot of purpose to him doing that in this book.
But what I like is that I really appreciate these sort of, if not alternate revisionist history, it's just like, what if this is what it was actually? Like, I think there's something very cool about let's take a thing that like does not have a definitive answer, and just try something new.
And he's also essentially using this like Michael Parenti.
Who's that?
He's a political philosopher.
Okay.
And Jean Baudrillard, who's a philosopher who wrote The Iraq War Did Not Take Place. Like, he's using this idea that they have, which is, and it would have been a brand new idea at the time, which is like most tragic events are media curated, and you understand things through the lens of not what actually happened, but what people told you happened.
Right.
And sometimes that might be it might be accurate, but we really have no way to know whether or not that's accurate. And he gets to that in this novel through very blatantly saying these letters from the Ripper are fake. It's the news media.
Which I also like, because I love a journalism story, and these guys are just like, man, we really need to sell newspapers. Like, what could we do? Like, what if we wrote ourselves letters? It's like, that's cool.
Which comes up again in The Wire. That's obviously a major plot point in The Wire. It is in Summer of Sam. Mm-hmm. So it's like, that's a thing that happens, right? Every time there's a serial killer, there are a bunch of people that write letters that are like, I'm this serial killer. It's in Zodiac.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, 1999 facts.
Number one movie. Not
The Matrix.
No. Bigger. The movie of the year.
1999.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not The Matrix. The Matrix was that year, though, right?
It was. I will also point everybody to 1999, the podcast, another podcast on that network that I was the co-host of for a while. Then I was just like, I can't do this also.
I know that there's a lot of big movies in 1999.
The movie that people waited 16 years for.
16 years. I don't know. I mean, I'm going to know when you tell me.
People went to other movies to see a trailer for this movie.
Like, I keep thinking James Cameron, but...
He was 97.
Is Spider-Man?
No. Bigger.
Bigger than Spider-Man?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Star Wars Episode 1,
okay.
The Phantom Menace.
Yeah, that's right. Sure.
Other defining films included The Matrix and everything else we did on 99 the podcast, like Office Space.
Yeah, Fight Club.
American Beauty won Best Picture.
Yeah. Much to many people's chagrin.
Boy, that movie does not hold up. I
think it's okay.
I did not love it when we watched it for that show. The number one song, or maybe one of the top songs, was Baby One More Time by Britney Spears.
Sure.
Teen pop in big way. Backstreet Boys, NSYNC, Christina Aguilera, also top of the charts. Miseducation of Lauryn Hill won Best Album.
Yeah,
or Album of the Year.
One of the all-time greats.
Eminem hit the scene.
99, really?
Slim Shady LP, I think, came out in 99.
Okay.
Napster launched, which basically was the beginning of the end for music, as a lot of people knew it.
Yep.
Sopranos premiered in January of 99.
Of course.
Who Wants to Be a Millionaire, I think maybe started in 98, but became like really big in 99.
In America, right? Wasn't that was that a show in England first?
It was a show there, because I also have 1999 facts in the UK, because this book takes place, or this graphic novel takes place in the UK. It was big in both places at that time.
Okay.
But
I might be thinking of The Weakest Link.
But we got Regis Philbin over here, baby.
Yeah.
Y2K, talked about. Widespread anxiety dominated headlines in pop culture. Google, really, because we're talking...
Which Dylan's dad helped fix.
Y2K? Was he one of the guys on Office Space?
One of the guys, yeah.
Google gained traction as a search engine. We were talking in the 90s... Spoilers behind the scenes. We have not read Poisonwood, or we've not recorded Poisonwood Bible yet, so we're going to get to that next. But in the 97 episode, we're talking about Netflix versus Google. Google launches in 98, but really starts becoming really popular in 99. DVDs overtake VHS. The Euro is introduced. Columbine happens in April.
I remember.
In the UK, because that's what we're talking about today, sort of, Tony Blair was prime minister. Britpop started to fade and became post-Britpop and electronic music. Spice Girls started to fade because I think they broke up or something, or they were breaking up at the time.
K Federation burned £1 million.
What's that?
I actually don't know if that was 99. The K Federation was the pop band, and as an art project, they put £1 million.
Oh.
Set it on fire. just burned it. It's really strange. Really strange thing for a pop band to do. You'd think it would be a band like Godspeed You Black Emperor or something, not 98 Degrees.
Sounds like a thing that Batman would do, or the Joker would do, not Batman.
Yeah.
Also, Fast Five, they did that in Rio. They took off their masks and they said, "Who's hiding?" Anyway, 1899 facts, because it's end of the 19th century. Industrialization was accelerating in Europe and the U.S., reshaping both cities and labor. Urban life, factories, railroads, and mechanization were defining modern existence. Queen Victoria on the British throne, nearing the end of her reign.
Nearing the end.
Electricity was spreading rapidly, though rural areas still were behind. Bicycles, big boom. People loving the bicycle.
Bike boom, 1899.
And that's what I got. So what is your history? Because I know some of this, but I think we have not talked about him on the podcast yet. What is your history with Alan Moore? And did you ever consider doing any Alan Moore stuff in our graphic novel module?
I considered this in the graphic novel module.
But
I think Heather talked me out of it.
Interesting.
Because I think she rightly wanted to direct us toward artists and writers that had less of a spotlight shined on them. And like in the comics industry, I think everyone's had enough of Alan Moore.
Sure.
Like everyone's like, all anyone's been fucking talking about for 40 years is Alan Moore. Like, let's just.
I think
there are other people.
I think all I know of his that I've read is Watchmen, but I've read that a couple times. Is that still his? Like, wait, did he do Swamp Thing?
Yes,
I did. I read that run. Because that's like the run of Swamp Thing, right?
Yeah.
What else might I have read of his?
V for Vendetta.
Did not read it. Saw the movie.
League of Extraordinary Gentlemen.
Saw the movie.
Terrible movie.
Yeah.
Fucking unbelievable book. Terrible movie.
I believe it.
He's done a ton of stuff. The Killing Joke, one of the most famous Batman stories.
Read that. Yep.
That people hate. People hate that book because
Really?
it's so brutal.
Did he do the Long Halloween? Did he do somebody else did that? Okay.
That's Jeff Loeb.
Because that like
Jeff Loeb and Tim
at
Sale.
a point when I was just like, I need to get Batman. People were like Killing Joke and Long Halloween. Those are the two. I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
And also, what's the one? Nightfall, where he dies or back broke? Is Bane breaks his back in Nightfall?
Yeah, I don't remember who wrote that though. And then Alan Moore also did a thing called Lost Girls, which is like erotica.
Is he still writing?
Yeah, he writes novels now though and short stories.
Oh wait, maybe we did talk about him, or I don't remember if it was on the podcast or not, but I remember you saying about the erotica and about we were talking about I think adapting it or something.
Well, it's very similar to the movie, the Robert Zemeckis movie that just came out, where it all. Like,
that's why we're talking about it. It's a hotel room
still.
or whatever, right?
Yeah, and you can see it all through a looking glass, like a mirror.
Right.
But I said looking glass specifically because one of the characters is Alice from Alice in Wonderland.
Oh, right. It's 3 characters, right?
Yeah, it's Alice from Alice in Wonderland.
Yes,
Dorothy
we've talked about this.
From Wizard of Oz, and Wendy from Peter Pan.
Yep. We definitely have talked about this. I'm pretty sure on here too. Because I'm like, that sounds interesting, and also like it makes me sound like a pervert to say that it sounds interesting.
Well, maybe we would read it in the horny module.
Hell yeah, Broder module,
the legendary horny module.
The Broder module. I wasn't making comparisons between this and Watchmen, but the whole like, what is the fourth dimension? Like this book starts with like Dr. Manhattan, just like you saying before about like Jack the Ripper as an electron. Like Alan Moore has this like obsession, it seems, with things happening concurrently or out of order, out of sequence or whatever, which is fascinating.
I would say that one of his major themes is time as
a construct or not a construct.
Yeah, time is a construct or not a construct. Time is something that, like very much like math. It's something
maths, please.
It's something that humans invented and then forced on the world to
make order,
try to shape it.
Well, also, I mean, not to talk about a book that we have not yet talked about, but in the Poisonwood Bible, going from the Deep South to Africa and being like, oh, they don't think about time the same way. Like every 5th day is just market day. And like they don't give a shit about weeks or months or anything. It's just like every 5 days we do this thing. And so I think time as man-made construct or Western construct or whatever is fascinating.
Yeah.
This is your favorite graphic novel of all time. Is that true?
I think so. It's like a top 10 book of all time for me, maybe.
I will say, I'm going to read the Egg's email because the Egg has a very short email and she levies a compliment his way, which is more. Yeah. We have an email address, lottery@cageclub.me. We'll come back to it at the end. But she says, from hell, He's just another example of Alan Moore proving he's one of the all-time best writers.
Yeah.
How much of that opinion do you think you have shaped?
Of Meg's?
Yeah.
Well, it's possible. I don't remember. I don't remember if I sort of like,
Because she's got a nerd of a husband too.
yeah, I don't think he's a comic book guy though.
Oh.
But I sort of may have pushed her towards Swamp Thing, but that also may have been something she came to on her own before she knew me. I don't remember.
Really? Okay.
But again, Alan Moore is not the type of guy, like, he's not an underground, like,
right.
He's a person that people understand.
Yes.
Right? Like, he's a known factor.
Yep.
So it's not, Meg very well may have come upon him without any, but I know that she does love Swamp Thing.
She says so much of the comic felt like straight up genius art. It almost took me out of the experience of reading the comic to just appreciate the art and brilliance of the comic doing something with the setting while two characters are talking. Specifically, when two characters are on a boat and sailing from under a bridge, and also when two characters are traveling through London. All in all, my brains are too mush to talk more intelligently about the book, so I look forward to listening to the episode. But I did see her say, he's one of the all-time best writers. I'm like, okay.
He's a great, he's unbelievable to me because he's operating on a level that I don't understand. He is, he ties theme to content in a way that is very, very, very impressive to me. And to go back to The Wire, like, I think he's a little bit similar to David Simon in this way. When you're reading this book, I think it is very slow going, the same way that individual seasons of The Wire are slow going.
Yep.
But when things start to come together, there is a tightening in my chest that is just like, holy shit, it's all happening.
Well, I know that,
and then
like,
it crashes and you're just like, fuck.
Vieg was struggling because we were talking about when we were going to record, and she was like very early on. And I was saying to you that you had asked me, you had checked in, like, how's it going? And there's like a 35-page section here where Gull, I think, talks about the history of the Masons. And I'm like, this is boring as shit to me.
I see. That's one of my favorite. My two favorite books of it. When you're talking about the history of the Masons,
Yes.
are you talking about when he's driving in the Pentacle?
Yeah, and he's talking to, like, I for lack of a better word, like the special need, like the dumb guy or whatever.
Netley.
Yeah,
His driver.
And he's just talking about, like, how all of this, and like talking about the history of the Masons and the importance of the Masons and the symbology of the Masons. And I'm like, I know this means something. I know this is like the point of the thing, but also to me, that's not what I'm here for.
You're here for the guts, the blood and guts.
I think my favorite book is the one that's all like the colorized version on Kindle Unlimited right now. The red, like when he does the murder and sort of has like the psychotic break, perhaps.
That's my second favorite.
That's
Yeah,
like,
those are my two favorite books.
That's the one book in this where I was like, I cannot believe, like, I can't imagine like what it must have been like to be reading this on a month by month or whatever, or annual basis or whatever. And then to get to that, I should be like, holy shit.
Yeah, like this guy's doing it because you have in that book, you have him essentially, he's butchering this woman,
right?
But he's like performing surgery on her, and it's cutting between that and an actual surgery that he's doing, and it's cutting that between space and time where he moves into a modern hospital and starts screaming at everybody in the hospital, saying like, look at all these trinkets that you have. Look at like the world that you've become. You have all of these things and you're just not any better.
Right. But yeah, I don't like the Mason chapter because I think, like, I understand that he has to lay the ground for people who don't know the Masons or don't, because that's important to articulate his version of who Jack the Ripper is and why he's doing all of this, and like,
and also
Gull's perspective. But also, I was bored by that. But then
but hold on, it also really starts emphasizing not just the Mason stuff, but the symbolic history of London and how London sort of reaches through time to other cultures and hits on symbols that have
like in terms of imperialism,
transcended. Well, you have for example the obelisk, right, which is the Cleopatra's Key, I think it's called, which is they took from Egypt, right, and they brought. There's one in New York as well, but they brought it to England, and he takes Netley to it, and they're looking at it, and they go, the obelisk is representative of the sun, and sun is representative of maleness, the same way that moon is the yoni. So the sun is a phallic symbol, and sun is also a homonym for sun, right? And so like you have all of these things, and that's about like the specific maleness of the book and the ways in which like something that really bothered me. I mentioned this to you and to Meg in the thread, but I was like, I read a fucking review on Goodreads that drove me crazy.
Yeah, well, don't read reviews.
And it's the most popular review.
That's a problem
on Goodreads, and the review was like, had to force myself through another book with quote unquote period accurate sexism and racism
Right.
that I can best imagine would be successfully read in a velvet chair around like just white men smoking cigars. And it's just like, if you're not going to read the book, don't read the book.
Right.
Because if anything, this book is a criticism of the white men in back rooms that are shaping the world through violence and misogyny. Right? Like, it is a direct criticism of those two specific things.
It does basically, it champions, or if not champions, it humanizes the sex workers in a way that like few things are doing in the 1800s and like few things are doing in the 1980s or whatever, right?
I mean, there is a part in this book, and I sent this to Meg specifically because it was like, I don't know that it's not like it's not something that people have ever said before, but the way that it was articulated to me was it's so brilliantly articulated. But there's the part where the guy says, he says, "Do you like women?" And the other guy goes, "Of course I like women." He goes, "No. Not do you desire women? Do you like them?
Right.
How would you feel if they ran the country?"
Right.
And the other guy goes, "Oh, don't be silly."
Yeah.
And so like Moore is so I honestly think like if there is any white male author that should be free of the accusation of sexism,
It's him.
I think it's Alan Moore, because I think he's like so consciously doing feminism in his work.
Well, again, to the thing you're saying before about the like Alice and Dorothy and whatever, like that, you don't do that as exploitative. I mean, maybe you factor that in as like idiots will buy this for that reason or whatever, but you'll also
people have a problem with that book too, but
I'm sure that they do. Yes. But also you do that because you have a point about all this or whatever.
Yeah. He's so consciously being critical of the power structures that allow that, especially at that time, allowed women to go out in the street and have sex with a stranger for $1 or
to then just
die cold and destitute.
Yeah.
Right. Because that's the fate of a lot of these women if they don't turn towards sex work.
But then to almost immediately turn around and just spend $1 on a half pint of beer just because like,
what are you going to do? You got to comfort yourself in this world. Yeah.
Because sometimes they don't let you let them stick it between your legs. They actually want to have sex with you. And like, it's like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
I think going back to the Wire thing, I do really like the various, and this is also again, Wire, just like sort of modern storytelling of like cop perspective, journalist perspective, sex worker perspective, killer perspective, intercutting and all with their own agenda or their own purpose or whatever. And it feels exciting to like, how are we approaching this? Because again, I think what works, and I was saying this before, what I really like about it is grounding something in reality, but doing your own version of it.
Yeah.
What I don't like, and this is sort of a different thing, is the like
Oscar Wilde, William Blake.
Well, like the yes. Oh, did I write that down? I'm Oscar Wilde, incidentally. Hate that. Number one. Also, number two, like the guy's like, I just found a book called Glimpses into the Future, and like U.S. and Russia are powerhouses, and Germany's gonna go to war. It's just like,
right.
Like I understand like that as like that is a trapping of historical fiction or whatever, but it's the same thing like in Titanic, a movie that I love, where it's like, oh, he'll never amount to anything. It's like, it's grown worthy to me.
I think in this stuff, those people are all not only celebrities, but they're also cult figures in England that have a history that goes beyond just that they're authors, right? Like the underpinning of Oscar Wilde being in the text is that Oscar Wilde is then imprisoned for sodomy, right? And Oscar Wilde is there's all sorts of cult shit attached to Oscar Wilde. And William Blake has the vision of the lizard man, and he writes it down, and then it's like, oh, that's actually the ghost of Gull in the moving through time in the future. Yep. Right. And I think William Blake is it William Blake? No, I think it's Yeats that is like the like he's one of the founders of Illuminism, which is the Illuminati, right? And the Illuminati are sort of in a way at war with the Freemasons, right? So all of these characters they exist in that Alan Moore is pointing out the times. Like he's saying like, here are the popular figures of the times and these are the celebrities and whatever. But also they are signifiers for another like second layer of cult shit and underground England that goes with them that you carry into the story. The thing about Oscar Wilde is every time someone writes Oscar Wilde, they have to do it with their little fucking witticisms.
Right.
And it's just like, all right.
I mean, I think that I would appreciate this more maybe than, oh no, maybe not. But we talked about this in I Love Dick, where Chris Krause was talking about like, oh, like, you know, David Byrne's just playing music. It's just like she's sort of setting, it's the same kind of like scene setting where like, look at all these cool people around at the time.
Yeah.
And I think that there is value in that, but also the, oh, this guy at this party, like this whack job is this very famous person.
Well, also they use Oscar Wilde's fame and Oscar Wilde's like reputation as a homosexual to frame that school teacher into pederasty.
Yeah.
Right. So it's like, oh, he went to that party and he knows this person. That person is well known as a sodomite. And so we think we can nail this guy down.
And because he hugged a kid, we can then frame him and kill him and then, you know, job well done or whatever.
Yeah, exactly. So there's, you know, I think Alan Moore is doing that stuff at a layer that other people aren't, but also it fits so well in with like his other works, which are all so obsessed with literature's place in the cultural canon. That's what Lost Girls is about. That's what League of Gentlemen is about. League of Extraordinary Gentlemen, not League of Gentlemen, which is a very, very, very funny television show.
I think that also goes to prove like the thing that I have learned or I've seen pop up over and over again as we read books is that in the books that we read, people love reading books, and like you watch movies and people love watching movies and movies. Right. But in here, people are like, oh my God, books are great. And then to have the author being like, no, the history of books is important. It's like, yeah, that also tracks.
Yeah. Yeah. And then to, in the appendix 2, have the history of the books about the thing.
Right. Appendix 2 read to me like understanding comics.
Yeah, kind of. Yeah.
Where it is seemingly from like the perspective of Alan Moore to you and be like, this is the history of everything. And naturalist, like there's no real flair to the art. It's just like, it looks nice, but it's not artistic in the way that the main text is artistic.
Yeah.
But it's like, I'm giving you, or I'm fancying up so it's not incredibly boring, the history of Jack the Ripper.
Yeah.
Which is cool.
What did you think generally? And we read 2 different versions of it. You read one that was colorized. I read the original black and white. But what did you think generally of Eddie Campbell's art?
The thing that I like the most about it is that it feels wet and cold.
Yeah. Fucking A, it does.
Like all the rain and all that, like the heavy lines like that. It conveys what it must have been like to live in London, 130 years ago. The thing I don't like about it, and I think this is he did not do the lettering, or he did the lettering?
I don't know who did the lettering. We should find that out though, because it's important to credit whoever did.
I found a lot of the fonts to read difficult.
And also some of it's written in dialect too.
Well, I have less of a problem with that, but like sometimes it's like literally, and Meg was having like a text issue in her version, which is a different thing altogether. But to me, it's difficult. I mean, also I'm reading this on an iPad Pro, like bigger than like a comic book. Like it's, as far as I can tell, like maybe the best way to read, like if you don't need the tactile thing in your hand, having a beautiful big screen is a great way to read it. But some of it's still like, it's too small, or like, I don't know. Like I was having, like that's the one issue I had. But in terms of the actual art itself, love the cold. I think black and white would work, but I was thinking about after you had asked the question, because I didn't know or didn't really process, even though like literally on the cover it just says newly colorized or whatever. I think it would have been cool if the only color they added was red, for instance. But
yeah, I think that is something that Frank Miller would have had a problem with, maybe.
Oh, sure.
Because he would have been like, you're fucking stealing my shtick.
The letterer on From Hell.
It's probably Eddie Campbell.
Yes, artist and co-creator Eddie Campbell.
Yeah.
Yep. Known for his unique, scratchy art style and atypical hand-drawn lettering that suited the Victorian-era subject matter of the comic.
Yeah, I think it's interesting because I think probably reading it in color is such a different experience from reading it in black and white, because black and white has, again, like there's a symbolic meaning to it where everything's in those tones, right? And there's a darkness to that, and you don't get the vibrancy of a red blood splash, which inevitably brings life to a page that is
because especially dead. That one book that we were talking about before, like, is so red.
Yeah,
and to have that not be red at all is starkly different. Because like in most of the book, even though it is colorized, there's not a lot of color. Like it is capturing seemingly the vibe of like not really much electricity, just sort of candlelight, London, 1880s, 1890s, whatever. It's not like it's crazy colors and all like really like Technicolor or whatever. It is muted by design.
Yeah.
But I do think it is effective when it gets red and crazy. But it also, when you were asking about color versus black and white, I was thinking back to something I've never read, but like the original Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles zines that are all like hyper violent, all black and white, right? So, because to me, not a huge fan of Turtles, like their iconography is so tied to the color of their bandanas or whatever.
And but everything about the Ninja Turtles has been sort of abandoned because that original hyper violent black and white is a parody of Frank Miller's Daredevil. That's the purpose. The purpose of it is to be a parody of that. You have, the Foot Clan is instead of the hand, Splinter is instead of Stick, the guy that trained Daredevil.
Right.
Like it's like a 1-to-1 comparison. So the hyper violent stuff is a satire of Frank Miller in the same way that like Cerebus later on or at the same time, Cerebus is a satire of the sword and sorcery comics of that time.
But I think expanding the conversation from just the color and the groundedness, I guess I was just surprised by the fact that the ending is sort of so supernatural in a way when so much of the text is grounded. Like,
the last chapter being him being a ghost.
Well, like the text ends with like a psychic being like, I know who did it. And then like going to find him confessing immediately, being like, oh yeah, I did that.
The psychic is full of shit though.
But he was right.
But he was right because he was trying to get a guy that had embarrassed him in trouble.
But still.
Right? And he admits that he's a fraud. In the very beginning, I mean, the book starts with him going like, by the way, like I'm a fraud. I made everything up.
Right. But then they go to the Masons. The Masons are like, we'll handle it. Don't worry about that. And it just feels like it's the accelerating, compounding culmination of everything. And then he becomes a gull. Like Gull becomes a gull and then, flies through time.
Explodes in the air and rains blood down on a boat.
Which is pretty gross.
It's like, put that in the movie. Why isn't that in the movie?
Is there anything good about the movie at all?
Well, I'll tell you, who do you think Johnny Depp plays in the movie?
Well, I asked you, he plays the detective.
He plays both the detective and the psychic. They're compounded into one person.
Oh, so he doesn't play two characters. He plays one character
and he's like an opium addict who is having visions. And it's just like, what are you doing?
Heather Graham is Mary Kelly, I think.
Yeah. And then Ian Holm is Gull, which is good casting. Ian Holm is good casting for Gull.
I like Heather Graham as, sort of a... I was surprised.
I probably would have gone with someone that's actually British. I don't know that I trust Heather Graham to be able to do.
I was thinking it's too young for her because I think she maybe broke out a few years later. But like Kelly MacDonald, I mean, she's Irish, but like she could maybe do.
No, Kelly MacDonald is previous than that because Kelly MacDonald's in Trainspotting.
Oh, that's true.
She's Scottish.
So she could have done it maybe?
Yeah.
Who knows? Anyway, I was surprised. Like, okay, so when Gull is thinking he is murdering Mary Kelly, the entire time I'm like, oh, that's not her. Like it is,
but is Mary Kelly is the woman at the end that the ghost approaches, right? And she like tells the ghost to fuck off.
Yeah,
that's supposed to be her, right?
I think so.
They don't name her, but that's her.
But
and she's got a bunch of kids and she's happy,
right? Because the book sets up earlier, like, oh, we got her because they put the hat on her, right? And they identify her, and then she escapes because somebody else says that she's Mary Kelly and they killed her. And there's like, oh no, I'm actually not, because people are like, oh, thank God you're not dead.
Which sets up the symbolic murder because it has to be 5. It should be 5. Right. To make
the extra,
because to make the pinnacle.
There's 4 women who are like blackmailing. And so the 5th is like, oh, that actually wasn't one of them, but now we have a 5th or whatever.
And then it ends up being a mistake. And
right. But then as soon as she's like her neighbor or whatever, she lets her sleep or like gives her the key. I'm like, oh, yeah, inevitably. Mm-hmm. But I was surprised, and maybe I shouldn't be surprised, that she doesn't come back. Like we don't really ever officially, like, again, you're saying probably her. We have the confirmation.
I think it's meant to be her at the end.
But like we never get closure on that, which is probably realistic, but also surprising in a text that you were writing that you don't actually say like, oh, hey, actually she's okay.
Yeah.
Not that I want that, but I was a little surprised by that.
I don't know. I don't expect Alan Moore to deliver in that way necessarily, to tie everything up in a bow for us.
But in the version of the bow that he ties up, or the explanation of why those who did it,
yeah,
it is clear to me why you like this. It's just like, oh, the people with power are going to do whatever they can to like keep the people without power down.
And also, something that I thought about this book a lot was Kristen used to work as a proofreader for city ordinances.
Okay.
So towns would send her like city plans and laws and things, and she would read through these city plans and, edit them. So she had to like very like read through these things and look at these maps and make sure that there were no grammatical errors and make sure that everything made sense and that it was like phrased and framed in a way that was readable to anyone that needed to read it. And she would talk to me about the feng shui of towns and how, like, if you start going through these laws and looking at maps, there are towns, and they are the towns that you would expect them to be. Towns that have economic hardship and towns that have high crime rates and towns that have quote unquote bad vibes. And she would say that when you look at the maps of these towns and you read the laws of these towns, they are structured in ways that create like a bad flow of energy and things like that. Like there will be like, roads leading to a place where they stop and it's hard to get out of that space and there are dead ends and all these things like the towns were planned badly geographically and symbolically. And so they end up being quote unquote bad towns. And like, I don't know, obviously she would be able to speak a lot more wisely on this than I am, because obviously she's also carrying the vibe she already knows about those towns being what they are into these circumstances.
It's like a self-fulfilling prophecy almost.
But like, that's kind of what Alan Moore is talking about, right? Like that we have these self-fulfilling prophecies that like what is always has been and always will be. And there's a naturalism in the literary genre of naturalism, which sort of decries the idea of determinism and says that circumstances and fate define everything rather than like the will of a human. It's very much like recalling the idea that like, what the biggest determinant of whether or not you'll be wealthy at the end of your life is?
If your parents were wealthy?
Very close. It is that like the single biggest determinant of end of life wealth is the zip code in which you were born. So like that is how place defines us, right? Because if you're born in a place
with privilege,
it's hard to get out of that place, or it's hard to lose your status. It is hard to lose status, right? So I think like that's kind of what Alan Moore is doing. And when I was reading this book, I kept thinking about what Kristen was telling me. There's also something in the very beginning of the book that we've talked about a million times. We've talked about like ghosts and whether or not ghosts exist and whether or not it even matters if ghosts exist, if people believe that ghosts exist. And he says that about God, right? He's like, I think William Gull is like, I don't care if God exists or not. Well, it doesn't matter.
Also, like when he becomes a gull and then he also kind of becomes God for a second and then he dies.
But he's like, look, people follow God. They listen to God. Wars are fought over God. Like we frame these resources all around God. We have lands that are holy lands. And so like, even if God doesn't exist, people are pretending so hard that he is. The symbol is all that matters. That's what like the wheel of history is turning based on symbology.
But also he is not believing in God for the same convenient reason that people do believe in God, because if he believed in God, he probably couldn't reckon the fact that he is killing innocent women to fulfill some greater purpose.
But also he is like in many ways thinking of himself as the Ubermensch, right? He's like, because
he's doing a service.
Yeah, because he's a Freemason and because he is he doesn't mention it, but like a white man in England, he like
with status,
he's above it, right? He can kill these prostitutes because what is their life when you're talking about the engine of all of England, the engine of Freemasonic power for the rest of eternity. And as he puts over and over again, sort of like turning the tide of the century into the new century, because that's what this book is about. It's moving from the from the 1800s to the 1900s, from the 19th century to the 20th century. This book could have been about 9/11. Right? It could have been you could make the same book about Muhammad Atta instead of William Gull. You could make this book about Altamont ending the 60s, right? It's the same thing.
Are there other books like this or other works of art that basically fictionalize, or if not fictionalize, do an alternate history of a thing that we don't know the answer to. Because I feel like so much of history we just like definitively, for lack of a better, like know what happened. Like I know that like Tarantino, for instance, does like Inglourious Basterds, like, but that I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about like specifically where there is a mystery, like I guess Zodiac, but like nobody's ever been like, well, what if Zodiac was actually like the doctor to the president or whatever?
Zodiac is not trying to do anything but realism.
Right.
Like Fincher is just keyed in to that. Summer of Sam, the Spike Lee movie, which I just watched, is kind of doing that. I mean, we know that David Berkowitz is the guy that killed all those people, but David Berkowitz says that he's not. David Berkowitz says that he was part of a grand underground satanic cult, and like there were cult members with him murdering people, and that a police officer from Yonkers was one of the main killers, and you have all of that stuff, and Spike Lee doesn't talk about any of that in the movie, but that movie is about punk rock and disco and Catholicism.
Because I also, we were just talking about on the episode about the Atlas that William T. Bowman was surprised to find out that he was a suspect of interest or major in the Unabomber, right? So I guess it has to be like, is the only mystery we know, like, or is, well, no. That's simply not true. I guess also like the X-Files does this, right? Where it's just like, what if aliens or something? But like, that's not exactly like
but there's I would say a major one is James Ellroy's American Tabloid, which is about the Kennedy assassination. And there are lots of stuff like that.
Which we were going to do, we still might do in like that alternate history, like with Blonde and stuff, right? Is that a fictional biography or is it not?
It's not a biography. It's like it's a fictionalized account of what happened.
Is that like the Machinery of America? Would that be that?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
Maybe we'll do that next. I don't know.
Well, not next. We know it's going next.
Yeah.
Which we've already announced is going to be in Table for Fortune. But after that, because there's things like, again, depressing heavy, but also the fictionalized like Blonde and Cloud Splitter and stuff like that, where it's like these are 900, like these are lofty tomes.
I know. It's hard.
Hey man,
American Tabloid's really long too.
Somebody's got to do it.
That's right. Somebody has to do it. We have to do it. There's no alternative.
Part of me is like, when I sit down and I'm like, I have so much, I want to just like watch movies for fun or read books for fun, but I'm just like, I have to read this thing for this thing. But I also know when I get busy, if I don't have to read for the podcast, I'm probably just not going to read.
Yeah.
And if you fall out of habit in that, you just don't keep reading. And so I'm glad that we have this, but also
a catchphrase among us.
Also, if we're going to read, better make it fucking difficult.
Yeah. Well, I think, what was the book? I think it was one of the Blake Butler books. Like maybe the first, like maybe it was 300 million that we read. When we got to the end of that book, there was almost like a buzzy high about it where we were like, this is what we're fucking doing. This is what we came here to do, motherfucker.
Yes.
Which is like, yeah, that was a tough book to read. I don't know. Like something, and this is getting away from hell, but maybe before going into one of those things that's like, hey, we have a bunch of really long books in a row, maybe we can do a 10-book module of novellas. Like just like, here's 10 books that are less than 200 pages. And we can condense all of that into a very short period to give us such a head start on those other books.
We could just do like the Sam Pink module or something.
Yeah. That it's not overwhelming at all.
That would also probably be approachable.
Yeah.
Although I do feel like the niche we have sort of targeted and cornered, which we ran through on the YouTube comments 2 weeks ago or 2 episodes ago, 4 weeks ago, is we're covering the books that literally no one else is talking about.
Yeah.
And we're finding one person who's just like, I need more about this.
I love this book.
And so we, Raw Shark Text and Amygdalatropolis or whatever, we have found audiences through those authors because like their fan bases are fanatical and they will consume anything that they put out. Even though that one guy got mad at us for listening to an interview with the author about the book that he was going to read. Just like, dude, anyway, I wonder if the approachable version or like our next, which we have not announced yet, but the next Great American Novel module, which has one of the most famous and well-read books of all time, part of me is just like, nobody's ever going to listen to that episode because there's enough people talking about that already.
That's true.
Ease approachability.
You know who's going to listen to it is kids that are writing papers about it. And they're going to get me being like, fucking Nick Carraway's gay.
You'll never guess what novel it is that Nick Carraway's in. It's not the one you think. Yeah, I don't know. But I do think that there is, when I sit down and I'm like, okay, I got to get through 30 or 40 pages. And like, if it's difficult, like I don't like it in the moment, but also at the end, you're like, that was a job well done.
It's like exercising.
Yeah.
Back to From Hell for a second. A very shitty movie was made by a couple of really great filmmakers.
Who made it?
The Hughes brothers, who did Menace to Society
Oh.
and Dead Presidents, which is weird that they went from like tales of like black struggle in America directly to like 19th century England, where like there's no black people at all in this movie.
Maybe like we had our fill.
Yeah. But do you think that it's possible to make this book into a movie and have it work?
I think you'd have to do like a Netflix like a mini series or something. Like I think that's, or an HBO mini, like a limited series. I think there is just too much to cover.
Yeah.
And I think where the value is, which again, I've not seen the movie. I don't think I will see the movie. I don't think I ever equated until we were talking about it that the movie is this. Like I knew the graphic novel existed. I knew the movie existed, but I just sort of assumed that can't be this.
You can assume that with every single thing that Alan Moore has written.
What is impressive to me, what I like, my favorite part about this book is the varying perspectives. And it feels like if Johnny Depp is combining characters, you're not getting that already.
Yeah.
And so have things where like you follow the journalist for an episode, you follow the cop for an episode, you follow Mary Kelly for like you do different things, even if not for an entire episode, you give each of them the space that they deserve instead of being like, well, we're just going to like, this is the guy. Cause you said, isn't it crazy that Johnny Depp, to me via text, that Johnny Depp's the star of this? I'm like, I don't even know who you'd possibly play.
Yeah, I guess because if you were thinking of the star of it, you'd be thinking of Gull, probably, right?
Because like you're like, I was like 150 or 200. Because I think when you asked me that, I don't even think the detective, or what's his character's name?
Aberdeen.
I don't think he had even shown up in the text. You know, I'm just like,
outside of the first, like they're in the prologue together,
right? But I'm just like, I don't know who it could possibly be, because by that point it was so sprawling. I'm like, maybe no, but maybe not.
I think that I think Fincher could do it in like a Mindhunter way. If he were making like a Mindhunter-esque series for it, he's the guy that I would get to do it. Although Fincher should probably stay away from the murderers for a while.
Well, he's doing Once Upon a Time in Hollywood too, right?
Yeah.
Cliff Booth or whatever.
I like that you said that like you were British. You said Cliff Booth.
Yeah, that was just a slur.
Cliff Booth.
Not a negative slur, just I misspoke. Anything else to say about From Hell?
One of the greatest books that I've ever read, like an essential postmodern text. I would read this alongside something like Mouse, because Mouse is also a historical text.
And Mouse also reads a little bit like Appendix 2, where it's like a meta commentary kind of thing on a thing.
It is meta, because it's a, there's a frame narrative around it where Artie is talking to his father and his father is reflecting, and it's a nonfiction story. There's nothing fictional about it except for that they're mice.
Right. I read that in college and I really liked it. I have not read
You read
it
the
since
whole thing, or
college.
do you read just part 1?
1 and 2.
Okay.
Is there more than that, or is that?
No, that's it. But like there, a lot of times people just read part 1.
I think it was in a class that I took called Apocalyptic Visions, which was
that's a great module title.
Which was cinema and books. It was, communications class, so easy. But it was about like the end of the world, essentially, like apocalypse and, ways that people, like, I think I did not watch, we were supposed to watch, I did not watch, but like Grave of the Fireflies and Mouse and stuff like that. And it's cool when you're like an 18-year-old or 19-year-old college kid, just like, hell yeah, man, end of the world.
Yeah. Yeah, Mouse is great. I taught Mouse. I teach Mouse now for obvious reasons, but I taught Mouse in college once. When I was teaching college, I taught a class that kind of ended up being about fascism, because I taught Mouse and I taught Starship Troopers, and I don't remember. I taught a couple other things, but it ended up being like.
Do students like Mouse?
Yeah, I mean, right now it's the most popular book among my students.
Sure.
I think a lot of it is about framing the conversation and like showing how, like, what's going on. It's really good to read Understanding Comics before teaching that book.
Sure.
Or at least like do a little like PowerPoint of
Do you do
Understanding
that
Comics.
or no?
Yeah.
Okay.
And you say like, oh, here's, here's actually what he's doing. And then you give a history of postmodernism and what metafiction is. And you show, and it helps if they know a little bit about the Holocaust too.
Right.
Which
yes,
not a lot of people do, actually. Less and less all the time, which is unfortunate. But
well, Jonathan Glazer's out here trying to do the thing.
Trying to, yeah.
A movie that is so heavy that I might never watch again, but maybe.
Yeah.
Keep reading.
Yeah. What's Today's Crime? Today's Crime is it's that song by that country artist that is about keying her boyfriend's car and smashing the.
Oh, Stay in the Truck. No. Do you know about Stay in the Truck?
No.
Stay in the Truck came out a couple years ago, and just like girls being abused by her boyfriend, and like the guy in her life that she like goes to for just says stay in the truck, and he goes into the trailer, takes care of business.
Well, this one's more about women doing it for themselves, and it's like the guy cheats on her
Before he cheats.
No, is that the name of it?
Miranda Lambert, maybe.
It is Miranda Lambert, I think.
Before he cheats.
And it's like
It also might be a different song, but I know that Miranda Lambert has a song called "Before He Cheats."
Yeah, no, it's Before He Cheats, because it's like the chorus is something like, you better think about that next time before you cheat.
I can't wait to listen to this on the way to dinner.
Are we going to listen to it? Yeah.
Crank
It's a
loud.
good song.
Mm-hmm.
It's a good song. She has bad politics, but that's a good song. Anyway, so like
Theme song.
all the crimes that she does during that song, like those are the crimes of the week.
Theme song. Editor Joey here. We know that it is not Miranda Lambert. It is Carrie Underwood, but we did listen to the song on repeat on the way to dinner after we recorded the episode. So rest assured, we know the error of our ways, but also Shreds wants you to know, still bad politics.